Hey, welcome to my channel where I talk about dolls, and that's literally it. And in this video, I'm going to be announcing my Saila doll giveaway. But before I get to that, I have a few updates to share about why this video is a day later than I promised, but also about some future videos coming up and things like that, other things that happened and are happening. Because not only is the stuff that I'm going to share relevant to the Saila giveaway and my other videos that are Maplelea related, it would only be a 2-minute video if I just jumped right into announcing the winner. And to anyone who clicked on this video having not seen the Saila Spotlight video in which I announced this giveaway, if you're following along to this but not to that, then I'll just explain quickly that I wanted to do a giveaway to thank everyone who's been following along with my Maplelea videos, because they do tend to get a little bit wordy, like all my other videos. So that's what this was for, was just to thank people for not just watching the videos, but getting through all the way to the end, because that's kind of how I snuck this little giveaway in there. And yeah, like I said, it was just a little thank you and nothing serious beyond that. But the biggest disclaimer I want to make is that I only have one doll to give away, so there can only be one winner. And I do feel kind of bad because more people entered than I expected. Like, more people showed interest and have been showing interest in my Maplelea videos. So I just want to, before I start anything else, just want to say to everyone, please be aware that there's only going to be one winner, which I know you knew that, but I just, I feel bad I couldn't give something to everyone. Having said all that, I can finally explain why the video is a day late. The truth is, the last few videos that you've been watching, if you've been following my channel, they were all pre-recorded because I just got back from my second trip across Canada. Back in the summer, my partner and I went out east, so we saw all the provinces from where I live in Ontario all the way out to I was going to say Charlottetown, but that's the town, the city in PEI. So we got to see one half of the country, and now we just got back from seeing the two westernmost provinces of the country. And I'd never been there before, so the provinces were Alberta and British Columbia. I was about to say Vancouver. I do know cities from provinces, I swear. And it was my first time going more west than Manitoba, Winnipeg, which is the next province over to the west of me in Ontario. So it wasn't just a big deal to see the rest of the country because it's very different from where I live. It's all mountains and just very wild, a lot of wilderness. But it was also fun timing because, well, it wasn't because I was doing the videos that I have upcoming, but because I knew that we were going to be going to Banff in Alberta, which is where Taryn lives in the Maplelea world and her story. And then we were also going to Vancouver, which is in BC, the same province where Charles C. lives, but not Salt City Island, I think it's called off the top of my head. So what I'm saying is that because I knew those were coming, it prepared me to talk about 2 of the 3 girls I have left. The other one's in Toronto where I live, so expect a long video when I get to Alexi. But the next video is going to be Taryn, so the doll character of October will be Taryn, November will be Charles C., who is the BC girl, and then December will be Alexi. And so what I'm saying is that it was, I did them in the order, the spotlight videos in the order I was doing, because I, by coincidence, was doing a Canadian trip with my partner, 2 Canadian trips, one east and one west. So when I talk about Taryn, especially because I actually went to Banff where she's from, I will have a lot more to say in the video just to give people, because the people who've been following along have been interested in the Canadian facts and the first, well, now I can give my first perspective when I talk about Banff because I've been there. But at least even any of the, like Saila, I was able to give a lot of background from Catherine and Leonie. I just got back from Quebec when I was about to do her video. So a lot of these have worked out really well that I can give some insight. So expect a lot when I do Taryn's video, not just because I got to see Banff up close and personal, but because I have a lot of her collection, it turns out. And I even picked up a couple, well, I even not picked up a couple pieces during my trip, but they're on their way to me right now because Marketplace, I was supposed to be on this like wilderness going across Canada trip, and I was still looking for doll stuff. One thing that I won't really talk about, I don't think, in Taryn's video is to anyone who visits Canada, especially going to the west side of the western provinces, into the Rockies, into the mountains, into the wilderness. I'm saying this because when we were out there visiting, there were a lot of people who weren't from Canada. I expected a lot of Canadian travelers who know to be careful around wilderness, but because a lot of the people we encountered during the trips, because the Rockies, Banff, are very touristy and they're full of people, like I said, from all over the world. And so I just want to give a little disclaimer, or not a disclaimer, a little heads up to anyone if you ever do visit Canada, especially going to an area where there's a lot of wilderness, don't think that animals are cute and cuddly like they are in Disney movies, because They are wild and they're very strong. I'm saying that because when we were there, I ended up having a couple encounters with animals that I was the one standing back, giving them space, not up in their, up in their face, taking pictures of them. So I just want to tell you a couple of those stories as a sort of warning, heads up to anyone who ever travels, not just to Canada because there's wilderness all over the world, but if you're ever going to a place and you're not familiar with animals, be careful, be respectful, because the truth is I love animals, I do, and I think they're beautiful to look at in a movie or a picture or from a far distance if I'm in my car or, somewhere sheltered that they can't run at me. But if I'm in the wild, I don't want to get close to animals. And my partner, who is not from Canada, he does. So the first night in Banff, as we were pulling up to the hotel, we did see an elk outside of it was within the area of where we would be staying for the couple days that we were in Banff. And so, he thought it was a moose, for the record. He's obsessed with seeing moose, as if he thinks these are some cuddly creatures that you can just go up to and pet on the head or something. And so we pulled in, he got really excited. I was driving, so I didn't really look to see if it was an elk. And then I realized it later, for the story I'm about to tell you first, that it was an elk and not a moose. So I think it was the second night we were there. We were coming back from one of our, trips out to see some lakes or whatever, see some wildernessy things and touristy things at the same time. So we're all so when I went east, that's the other thing. When we went east, we were quite secluded. We spent a lot of time out in spots there were not a lot of people there. The most we saw was in Charlottetown. We went to the Anne of Green Gables house. But then going west, wow, it was such a different experience because busy everywhere. And like I said, people from all over the world, particularly from Asian countries. And so that's why at first I wasn't sure if they were just from Toronto because like I said, that's what Toronto's very diverse. But anyway, so the second night or one of the earlier nights that we were there, we were coming back from one of our trips, one of our site visits. And as I was driving late at night, he all of a sudden started freaking out saying, there's a moose, pull out, pull over, go park somewhere. I need to see this moose. I was like, what are you talking about? We need to get to the hotel. I follow the GPS to get back home. And he was like, no, just pull over in here. There's a parking lot. Go into this parking lot. So I do. And I haven't seen the moose yet because I'm driving. And so I pull into this parking lot that he feverishly guides me to because he's got to see this moose. I don't expect he's going to go up and look at it look at it very close, but I think he just wants to see it from a hopefully safe distance. So I pull into this parking lot. It turns out I think it was a hotel. So I'm looking around to first of all to see if I can park here, if it's what time it is, because there are restrictions and stuff like that. And as I'm looking around to see if I can park here, it's like I've heard the door open and slam shut. So in the 2 seconds I'm looking around, he's already taken off toward this moose, as he's saying it's a moose. And so I don't even know I haven't seen the moose. I didn't see where it was. I was driving. So now I get out of the car and I just go where I think he went, where it looked like he ran off, the direction he ran off in. And it's, like I said, it's hotels, so I can't see everything. I can't see around corners. I'm just following what sounds like footsteps. And I get out to a parking lot. It's a different hotel now. And I am 10 feet away from an elk. It's not a moose. It's a bull elk. So you can tell by the antlers that it's a male. And I haven't explained yet that this is mating season for deer. So any deer, elk, moose, they're in mating season, which means different things for different types of deer. For elk, what it means is elk have a harem of cow elk, meaning the one male will have, anywhere from 6 to, I don't know, this one had a dozen. He had a dozen female elk with him. And so I'm now standing here, still looking for my partner, by the way, and the elk is kind of directly in front of me, but he's not looking my direction. He's going the other way, and his harem is over here. And I don't know what I'm going to do because I don't want to be this close to an elk, period, out in the wild. If there's some kind of glass or something to protect me, fine. But I don't want to be that close to an elk. And throw on top of that, it's mating season. He's a male. His harem's over here, and I'm a male, but I don't think he's going to see me that way. But the good news was, so like I said, I'm very close to him, but then there's a sidewalk kind of behind me, a bunch of feet behind me, and everyone's just, they're all standing there like this. Everyone's on their phone taking pictures, and I'm trying not to draw attention to myself because I'm the closest to the elk. And then I look over to my right, and luckily I see this man in like a neon safety jacket, like a caution jacket. And he's got this long stick. So clearly he works for the parks or the hotels or something. So he knows what he's doing. He's a professional. And he's got this, what looks like a mop with a neon pom-pom or like a mop head on the end. So he's got this, let's call it a neon orange pom-pom, and he's smacking it against the ground and, saying to the elk, like, out, out, like go that way. He's trying to direct them away from essentially me now, because I'm so not stupid. Like, I wasn't doing this on purpose. And he's saying to me, keep your distance, keep your distance. And I'm like, I want to be at home right now. I don't want to be here at all. Don't tell me to keep my distance. If I had the distance I wanted, I would be back in my car at the very least. So the male elk is walking slowly away. And like I said, I'm not in his path. He's going this way. I'm over here. And then all of a sudden, so as I said, he's walking. He just does this. And he locks eyes with me. Of all people, the one who doesn't want to be there. And I'm like, what are you looking at me for? Look at all these people around you gawking, taking pictures. I'm just standing here pretending I don't exist. Can you do the same? And he's staring at me for so long. And my partner later told me that I didn't see this happen. My partner said that the elk lowered his head, and the reason I can prove I didn't see that happening is because my soul is still in my body. If I had seen that elk, if I had seen him not only staring at me but lower his head as if he was about to like charge, I would have passed out. I would have needed new pants at the very least. And so luckily the ranger or whatever he was kept banging that mop, the orange pom-pom against the ground, and walking the elk. So he's walking out the male elk, who will then trigger all his harem. And I don't know if I made it clear that there were over a dozen. And I know that there were over a dozen because once he was out of range, then I pulled out my camera to be like, look at what almost killed me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the one who's like, let these animals be, don't get in their faces. And here I am, I'm the one in his face, and I'm the one who almost got him ramming into my face. So that was my first bad experience. Well, not bad, because it could have been a lot worse. I guess it was magical. It was very close, but I didn't want to be. And so that was my first encounter with what my partner thought was a moose. And I was so stunned that I was believing it was a moose until I looked at the pictures later and I was like, oh, this is not a moose. Thankfully, because they're a lot bigger, it's an elk. And so we did end up having a little bit of a scene the next day or 2 days later with an actual moose. This was a day that we were supposed to go on a cruise to a very sacred island, but it ended up being foggy. So after spending a couple hours there on this lake, it got canceled. But while we were waiting in line to have our tickets scanned, all these people started making a commotion over to where we're lined up, over to our left, because we're on like a shore so there's a shore, and there's a little bit of a forest kind of behind us. And everybody's talking about there's this moose. And then so I kind of lean back and I'm like, oh, to my partner, because he's the one who's obsessed with seeing a moose and still hasn't seen one because they've all been elk so far. And I'm like, oh, look, she's over there. It's a girl moose. She's out on a little bit of ways, let's say 500 meters. That means nothing to people. I don't know what that is in miles, but it's not very far. It's probably a few yards. And again, I don't know American measurements, but just know it's not very far, but far enough that I feel safe. And so again, everybody is just around her looking like this. Like, all she would see are basically bodies with bones as heads. And so my partner's excited because now we can see this moose who's not very far away. She's very visible, very majestic. I can't tell you how majestic these big deer are in person. And I've seen actual deer up close too, like within, even before this trip, but I've stood within like 5 feet of a family of deer before and just been like, oh, don't scare them, because who knows what they're going to do when they're scared. But in this instance, the female was by herself, but I knew that meant there would be a bull moose somewhere nearby because mating season. But the difference between moose and elk are very social of the deer family, and moose are the most solitary. So a bull would probably have 1 cow moose or maybe 2 at the most. So I thought, okay, if she's here, there must be a bull somewhere nearby and maybe another cow, unless she's alone. And so we're just standing there. She's kind of grazing, like she's eating grass. Her head's down a lot. People are like standing within like 3 feet of her. I don't know why they weren't scared for their lives, but I would imagine it has to do with there being people, like you come from you don't have these animals native to where you come from, and you see Disney movies and you see like, you see Frozen and the deer is this big goofy dog acting creature, but they're not like that in real life. But they do look very beautiful, and like they almost look like you could pet them because they have these big cow eyes and everything. But anyway, so I'm just like, okay, if this moose goes on a rampage, she's got all those people right near her. We're fine to look from this safe distance. So tell me why my partner and I are standing shoulder to shoulder, and if he didn't have a video of this to prove what I saw, I would probably think it wasn't true. This moose, head down, looks up, locks eyes with me, of all people, the one not gawking at her, the one not taking pictures of her, just letting her live her life. And then she looks at me, and not only does she look at me and stare at me for 1 second, she's like, that's where I want to go. I want to go right where he's standing. And then this big female moose starts clopping right at me. And I'm like to my partner, we got to go. We got to go. She's coming right at me. Like, she wants me. She wants to be right here, right now, and then behind me. So I was still thinking, okay, if she's here, there's a bull. So we got to get out of the way, because if this, whatever this moose wants with me, if her bull sees this, I'm dead. And I don't want it to sound like I don't like animals. I love animals, but I fear them and I respect them because I'm in their territory and they can be dangerous. My family is from Newfoundland, which I've told the story on here before, that people, you don't just encounter moose out there, people hunt them. I've been tricked into eating moose before. And so there was that thought in the back of my mind, like, what if she smells it all these years later? Is that why she's coming at me? Does she smell that I ate her great-great-great-great-grandmother, like 30 years ago? Because I would never do it again. And I would never do it knowingly, even though it was very delicious. But it's not enough to make me want to eat a moose. So I hope she understood that. So we just go close, like farther back. Like when we were kind of standing near her, we, just went closer to the shore on our side, and she ended up walking, like clopping right through where I was standing, and then went up this little hill to get into the little forest that I mentioned earlier. But then I heard other people talking. People that were taking pictures were coming back to where we were standing and saying, oh yeah, there were 3 moose. It was the male with big antlers, which I didn't see, and then 2 females. So she was the one I saw. And so I can guarantee you, if she came near me, touched me, whatever, he would have been very close behind. So I just felt like 2 close encounters with, big deer, like 1 elk and now 1 female moose. So I was just like, why me of all people when I don't even want to bug them? Because even when my partner was saying, oh, let's go take pictures, let's go look at them, they're here, like, she looks like she likes attention, like she's looking like she's hamming it up for the camera. And I'm like, no, these are animals living their lives. They're not here to entertain us. And he was like, oh yeah, you're right. We're gawking at them. And I'm like, yes, they're just literally, we're putting human emotions on these animals that are just wild animals, thinking that, because it did kind of look like it when she looked up at me and she was kind of like, there was a moment where she was like, do you like this? Like, do you want to take a picture of this? And I was like, no, I'm a human, but I know she's not. So let me get out of here fast. And then the final encounter, this is a bit more of an embarrassing, childish story where I reacted childishly because, I'm still a human and I could be I could be emotional when I see, nature doing nature things, if you know what I'm saying. Some animals eat other animals. So that's where this story is going to go. It didn't happen because I'm emotional. So those 2 stories happened in Banff. And then this last one happened in Vancouver. And the thing about Vancouver is it's on the Pacific. So it's on the Pacific coast. It's the Pacific Ocean, which means there's water around Vancouver itself. And you can walk, like I said, lots of nature in the West Coast. There were times that we were walking in Vancouver. We would get in this like Vancouver's a city, is what I'm saying. It's their main city of BC, the same way I'm in Toronto, the main city of Ontario. So my Torontonian brain is kind of like, well, maybe Vancouver's a lot like Toronto, like would be familiar to me, which is a totally different story that I don't even need to talk about here. But there were points where we were walking, I'm like, where are we again? How come there's so much forest? Or how come there were so many trees? Where are we going? And my parent would be like, we're still in Vancouver. And I'd be like, oh yeah, whoa, this is a city. This is like nature, wildlife within the city. So anyway, we were doing this like shore walk in Vancouver. I think there's a better name for it, but it's escaping me right now. It's really not an important story. Just know that we're walking with all this salt water surrounding us and seagulls. And so there are going to be things like crabs in the water down below us. And at one point I saw these 2 big seagulls looking like they were fighting over something. I thought it was a rock. And my partner was like, oh no, they're eating a fish, because he doesn't really know he's Hindu and therefore vegetarian. So he doesn't know the differences between all these fish that he would never eat. So I was like, no, that's a rock. And then I see this rock doing this and like trying to defend itself against these seagulls. And this is where I'm saying, it's going to sound a little bit like do what I say, don't do what I do, because I did feel stupid about this afterward, but I kind of had a panic moment where I saw them like, it was so brutal. It was like they were just jabbing this little crab, and they got him on his back, and he was trying to defend himself. But he was this little big, like this little tiny little crab against these seagulls. I've never seen seagulls this big. They had eaten enough. Okay, they didn't need this one crab. So I just kind of acted. This is what I'm saying. It's kind of childish and juvenile, where I got emotional and I ran over to the crab and I was like, get away from him, leave him alone. And as I'm trying to ward off these 2 seagulls who were not having it, my partner's trying to sort of, shield the crab to get away from the seagulls but it's going away from the water, I guess, because the seagulls are by the water. So it gets out. It eventually gets out to the grass, but that's after me chasing off the seagulls over and over again because they're just like, we're just waiting for you to leave and we're going to eat that crab, okay? We're going to get it. There's nothing you can do. And this crab's walking, like trying to get away to shelter, and there are people everywhere. So there are people almost stepping on the crab, and I'm like soccer momming everyone saying, careful of the crab. You're going to step on that crab or he's going to get you because he's walking like this. You know what I mean? Like claws up, like he's going to get you before you get him. But anyway, he eventually made it to the grass and the seagulls eventually took off. So I was like, okay, how long can a crab live outside water? Because I don't know these things. I never think of these things. I don't live near fresh, salt water. That's where crabs live, right? So I Googled it. I'm like, okay, it's got 24 to 48 hours, but that's a long trek now to get back to the water. So my partner is trying to coax the crab back to the water with a stick, like a branch that he found on the ground. But now it's grasped onto the grass. So with its claws, it's holding onto the grass and it won't move. Like when you're trying to budget, it's doing this. And so I take the stick from my partner and I start doing this. Like I start poking his claw to try to get him to let go and to grab onto the stick. And I know that I'm putting human emotions onto an animal again, but I feel like he understood because he eventually grabbed onto that stick so hard. Like I felt it all the way to the stick up here that I'm holding up here. And he let go of the grass with his other claw. And like I said, I'm afraid of animals. So I've now got this crab hanging onto a stick that I do not want to touch me. And so I go running back to the water like, ah, you know what I mean? Like, get it back in the water and away from me as fast as I can. So I'm not saying that the crab is still alive today. I'm just saying that I, as an emotional human, was not able to let nature take its course. And I felt really bad for the seagulls, to be honest. Like, to be clear, I wasn't like, because they were squawking, you know, seagulls are. But they don't look like that in Toronto. They're a lot skinnier. They don't look so robust, like they've had enough to eat, you know what I'm saying? So all I had on me were cookies. So I was like, okay, these seagulls are hungry and it's my fault. So let me give them some cookies and maybe it'll give that crab some time to skedaddle under the water or whatever. And I looked it up and it turns out seagulls don't have a digestive system for cookies. So I couldn't even feed them cookies to, you know, peace offering. And then after the adrenaline rush or whatever that was over, I felt so bad. I felt so stupid. I felt like, because I'm saying, you know, I went from telling my partner, no, you should not, like, let the animals be. Don't go gawk at them. Don't take pictures. Just, you know, if we drive by one and you see it, just take a mental picture because they're just existing. Because we did end up seeing more elk and things like that throughout the trip. But while everybody was pulling over to the side of the road to take pictures, I was like, we're just driving. I'm not, listen, these things single me out for some reason. I'm not getting out of this car ever again. But in this instance, I felt like, okay, now I'm a hypocrite because I totally interfered with these two seagulls trying to eat, but I just couldn't. It's like it enraged me in such a weird way to see that they were being so vicious to this poor little crab. So I just, after the guilt, it took a couple hours for the guilt to go away, seriously. I just felt really silly about it. But then I was like, you know what? I'm a human and I'm part of nature. So if I'm going to react like that and I can stop seagulls, I'm going to do it, I guess. But I think even if I was met with that scene again, I would probably do something similar and hopefully not get clawed by the crab because that thing was scary. So yeah, if you're ever going to Canada, just know that we have all kinds of wildlife here and just be careful where you tread, whether it be for your own safety or your own like emotional security. But aside from all the animal trauma, it was an amazing trip. And I guess I'm telling you that because I will probably have other stuff to talk about when more pertinent to Taryn, for example, whose video is coming up next. Like, because I mentioned there was so much wildlife lakes, you know, I was literally climbing cliffs, like rock cliffs up waterfalls and stuff like that. And it was beautiful to see parts of the country that I know exist, but it's like, I didn't expect them to be as majestic in real life. It's almost like I felt like I was in some old fantasy movie or something. Like I live in a country that's full of land that like the Lord of the Rings could be filmed in because it just looks like that naturally. And I'm not just talking about this to pad the video or to prolong the announcement of Saila's winner, but it is stuff that because I just got back. So I was trying to explain why I'm a little bit late to upload the video. After going through all that, I was more exhausted when I got back than I expected to be, not just because of all the scary animals, but because of all the, you know, the hikes and the waterfall climbing and stuff like that. And for the record, I was doing these climbs by myself because my partner, he's not that adventurous type, and I don't consider myself adventurous, but when I'm around rocks or things I can climb, I've just become very compelled. But usually, and I call my partner my little goldfish, if you've seen or read the Cat in the Hat, you know how the goldfish is always like, you're going to get in trouble. Your parents are going to be home. My partner's like that. He's always like, Blaine, get down from there. Don't go out there. What are you doing? You're going to get hurt. So he had a friend on the trip. So whenever they were, distracted, kind of like looking at stuff, then I would sneak off and climb the rocks and climb the cliffs. And a lot of it was just very life-changing. It sounds so corny, but it's true. Like, and when I was in those moments. So that's why it's like, I want to share these things because, not everybody gets to experience stuff like that. And like I said, I believe it's pertinent to the giveaway because it's the Maplelea dolls. They're Canadian. And so that's why I'm saying you can expect stories that will probably do a little bit more with the dolls. And I'm telling stories that I can't tell, but they're fun stories. They're fun for me, I guess. I don't know if they're fun to hear, but you can let me know. But like I already said, just because I was on these hikes and looking at wilderness, I was still shopping for doll stuff along the way. Souvenirs, right? It's souvenirs. People have souvenirs. And when we got to Vancouver, I wasn't looking for anything in Banff because the days were just so packed. It wasn't just Banff. We went from Banff to Jasper, which is, to anyone who's probably heard about the wildfire situation in Canada, Jasper is a town that a couple years ago, we were driving through it and almost all the trees, all the forests were black. Like the trees had all been burnt down a couple years ago. I don't know. People were saying they'll come back. And, I don't know about that. I'm not a nature person, but it was just very depressing driving through Jasper and seeing, it was like an apocalypse out there. But yeah, that's another thing that goes on in Alberta a lot because there's so much wildlife, and it happens in Ontario too. But I feel like Alberta usually has more newsworthy coverage about the wildfires there. And then I don't know if people in the States know this, but some of the American governors and stuff have been complaining about our wildfires and saying it ruined their summer that we had all this smoke in the air, and could we please stop the wildfires? That's not funny. What I'm saying is it's funny. It's ridiculous that it makes me like laugh as a Canadian. Like, yeah, it would be nice if we could, wouldn't it? So when we got to Vancouver, it was a bit more urban and a bit more, we rented a car for Alberta, so I guess it would have been technically easier to go and pick up doll stuff if I had looked in Alberta. But like I said, the days were just too packed that there was no downtime. But when we got to Vancouver, it was more urban, and we got like a subway pass or whatever. So that's when I started being like, okay, maybe now I can look at not just American Girl, but Maplelea stuff. Look at doll stuff. And I found the most perfect souvenir that I could bring home with me. And she's just been off camera this whole time, waiting to show off her new outfit. So let me bring that up because I hope some of you will not just appreciate it, but understand why I got her this. Is that not the most perfect outfit for Claudie you've ever seen? Let me bring it close because I'm sure some of you will recognize it and some of you may need me to explain, but the details are just so perfectly Claudie. And she doesn't have anything pink in her actual wardrobe. So I just thought this was the perfect way to do it. And this was one of the few kit outfits that's been on my list ever since I got her Be Forever Christmas dress, which I showed on a video when I unboxed it, but it's also been behind me. The Claudie in that outfit has always also been behind me a lot. So people always comment on the dress and what is she wearing. And so if any of you see this, then you'll know. So it's this outfit, which totally started me on this kick of I need to get every possible kit outfit I can that I think would suit Claudie's collection, because the 1930s aren't far off from 1920s. It could be a few years later. She's a little bit older now, so she doesn't look that much more mature, of course, but they're just outfits that I think suit her really well. And, maybe because the 30s was the Depression, there are some 1920s fashions left over. I don't know. All I know is it looks really cute on her. And out of all the other historical dolls, kits are the only outfits that I want for my Claudie doll so far. And I do have a third outfit that's on the way. And Denise is someone who watches my videos and we talk on Instagram. And she sent me the ultimate kit outfit that I wanted for Claudie, which is her mini golf outfit, the orange one. But it arrived in Canada on September 24th, which was the day our Canada Post strike kicked off. So it's been sitting in customs, I guess, for the last, I don't know, what has it been, almost a month now. So I'm assuming this going to roll back to Saila for a minute, is that the Canada Post has come to an agreement that they're going to do some rotational strikes. So they'll start shipping things and it'll just be kind of like in waves across the country. So whenever you get your stuff, you get your stuff. So I may have it soon, and then I'll be able to show it on Claudie soon. And then I'll have 3 of the 5 kit outfits I want for Claudie. And I think that's all I need to say about Claudie for now. Oh, one more thing. When I went to pick up this outfit, it was we were spending our time in Vancouver. I don't know if it's called Central Vancouver, but the outfit was in North Vancouver, which turned out was really far from Central Vancouver. And so I told my partner, you know, are we going to go to North Vancouver at all? And he's like, yeah, we're going tomorrow. We're going to Grouse Mountain or whatever. So I was like, wow, that's crazy that I can not, you know, that the day that I reached out to someone for this outfit, that I can go up there and get it. And so not he, but after that, I went to pick up this outfit. And the person I picked up from, I was messaging the girl and I was going to pick it up from her mom. So I guess, you know, the daughter's away for school or whatever. So when I got there to pick up this outfit, her mom was on FaceTime with the daughter and she said, where are you from? Like, where are you visiting from? And I said, Toronto. And she's like, oh, that's where my daughter is. My daughter's going to school in Toronto right now. And I'm going to visit her next month. And see, the thing is, so the mom is coming to Toronto where I live next month, like in November. And so she had a few outfits that I wanted, but I could only fit one into my backpack, which is, I had to prioritize, obviously, the one that's going to go on Claudie. And so she said, if there are any more outfits, I'll bring them with me when I visit her next month. And so I was like, that's amazing. What a weird coincidence. So yeah, I'm going to get the other outfits next month. So let me finally talk a little bit more about the giveaway. And, you know, I'm assuming some of you will still be here watching. There are a couple notes I will make to myself for future, and then I'll let you know the thought process. One, I should have made it clear in the video when I was explaining the giveaway that you should not comment in replies. Like if you, because I said to put either the word orange, truth, or reconciliation in your comment if you're interested in entering for the giveaway. And some people were, I think, accidentally commenting in a reply, which I don't always get a notification of. And that, I can say that about any comment in any video, is if people make a comment that's a reply to somebody else's comment, I don't always know it's there, and sometimes I will never ever know it's there. But I was trying to be very stringent or very careful with these comments because I didn't want anyone to get left out. So I should have been clearer, and I will be next time. Don't put a comment, don't put your entry comment in a reply, but I think I found them all. And like I said, there were more entrants than I expected. I'm looking at my notes down here. So there were 61 entrants, and so that's why I was saying I'm maybe not stalling a little bit about saying the winner because there's only one out of the 61 people who entered. Another note is I said to say orange, and people were putting orange hearts, which I think was the same thing, so I counted them. But I'll have to be clear about that next time too. If I use a color, make sure that people are typing the color and not just putting the color in a, you know what I mean, like an orange heart, because I was like, I'll count them because I think. And another thing is a couple people were later than the deadline, which was October 7th. But because I was traveling at the time and I knew I would be, I still did enter those people. I still did enter the people who commented, you know, that they were really regretful that they missed it because I hadn't done the draw yet. So it was fine. And there was another thing I had to say. Yes, I mentioned bonus points when I explained the giveaway rules. And I didn't want to say what they were because I didn't want to discourage anyone from entering. But the thing is, so when I started this channel, it was to have conversations with people about dolls. I don't just want to sit here and talk to myself in my living room. I do like engaging with people in the comments down below. Like I said, I respond to all comments if they're not in replies because replies get buried in my notifications. So and an aside for that was I did get to meet a lot of people for the first time in the comments of that video, the Saila video, which was really interesting because it's like one of the things is when I'm talking, because I'm always talking to mostly the same people a lot in comments, it's like there's this bubble I live in where it's only those people who are watching my videos, and it's like, oh, more people watch the videos than I realize. And obviously I don't really expect people are sitting there and watching the videos over and over again, you know, the handful of people I talk to all the time. So I did get to meet new people, which was very nice. And, you know, playing off of what I said before, the reason I do these videos is to talk to people. So don't be shy if you ever do feel like you wanted to say something. And so to the bonus points, this is when I said I didn't want to discourage anyone. So the bonus points, what I was originally going to do was for anyone who commented the orange, truth, or reconciliation in the video, was I was going to give them a bonus point for any comment they'd made on any other videos. Meaning if somebody had 10 comments on my YouTube history, then I would give them the 10 bonus points aside from the actual entry point. But then some people, it only shows me up to 100. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to give somebody 100 entries because that's a lot to enter into the system for the draw. So I decided to give a point for every 5 comments up to a maximum of 20. So some people did have 20 bonus entries And some people had, like I said, only the 1 point, or maybe if they only had a handful of comments, then they would just have like up to 3, sometimes 3 entries. But I didn't want to explain that, like I said, because then people are like, well, there's no point in entering. It only takes 1 entry to, to win any kind of lottery, any kind of draw. So that's why I didn't want to say that, just in case, because some people, for the record, the person who won didn't have the most points, but they did have more. They had more than 1 comment. So I think that's something. If you're disappointed with your, the 1 entry, I'm just trying to explain padding this. I guess I'm stalling. So anyway, let me get to the winner, because I'm not going to tag the winner. I'm just going to hope they see this video and then learn that way that they won. And I'm already nervous, like only one person's going to win. And because this is, like I said, somebody who's had a lot of comments, and therefore I think they had over 60. So they had, what would that be? 30? No, I think I think it was 30 bonus entries. Whereas some people had, no, that's not 30. It's 12 points. I had to look back at my spreadsheet to remember, because 60, anyway, 13 points in total, 12 bonus points, and then the 1 entry point. And so like middle of the road, they didn't have the full 21, which I think was the most somebody had, or a couple people had. And now, because I've had lots of conversations with this person, I've never really thought about what their username meant. And I think I had one thing in my mind, and now because I'm doing a giveaway, I figured out what their username actually means. So what I always thought their username was mykiss2153. But then I clicked on their, so I was wrong. It's actually MYKLS2153. That's the user. That's the winner for everyone else who's wondering what I'm talking about. So all this time I thought, whenever I would respond to this person, that it was mykiss2153. But then when I clicked on their actual profile, their name is Michael S. So I think MYKL is Michael and S is S. So, and that was the other thing. People had to be comfortable with me saying their username on here. So now, after all this time, mykiss2153 is actually Michael S2153. So anyway, that's a long way of saying that's who the winner is. And I'm not going to tag them. So I hope that they see this video, and then we will figure out. So yeah, comment below. I mean, comment below whatever you want, but to the person who won, please comment below so we can get in touch with each other. Because to roll back to what I was saying before, Canada Post is doing rotational strikes. So I think I can now bring her to the post office, get her shipped at least. And once I'm assuming that this person is not in Canada. I don't remember why I assumed that, but I think they're in the States. So if that's the case, once the doll gets out of Canada, she'll be moving like normal, but it's just a question of her getting there before, that rotation hits where she is. So that's why I'm going to ship her as soon as we get in touch with each other and exchange all the information, but I don't know how long it's going to take. And if you are in the US, in the States, then I explained this in the Saila Spotlight video, that Canadians have an app. When we're shipping anything to the US now, we have to download this app, fill out all the information, how much everything costs, where it came from, and the app will determine what tariffs need to be paid, and the shipper pays them up front. And it's because USPS doesn't have the capacity for it. So that's why they're having the shippers deal with it instead. So what I'm saying is, the person who won will not have to pay tariffs or shipping. It's all gonna be taken care of. And I just did this as a thank you, and it wasn't sponsored by Maplelea or anything like that. Oh, and there's one more last little detail about the doll, is she's out of stock currently, but apparently she's going to restock by the end of this month, near the end, like October 30th. And I understand that so this wave of Saila dolls, I have one from this wave as well. Her eyes are brown, but there's a bit more of a violet tint to it. So I just want to bring her up close. I don't know if it's going to be visible on camera. I apparently have to put her out in the sun to see that she has a violet tint to her eyes. Yeah, I'm not seeing it on the camera. And it sounds like this will be the only wave of Saila dolls that got this violet tint to her eyes. Some people like it, some people don't. So I'm just saying that as a sort of heads up. I mean, I know it's a gift, so you won't care. But just to know that it is maybe the last chance to get one with this. I guess it's going to end up being a unique eye color, because I think they're correcting it with the new wave coming out. And to everyone who, is disappointed, or the winner who's excited, my original intention for the giveaway for Saila wasn't going to be a doll. It was going to be, I might as well just come clean. It was going to be a bunch of the orange shirts so that I could have multiple winners. and they're out of stock, and they won't be back in stock until 2026. So there's no way I can sneak that. There's no way I can sneak that into a later video this year. If anybody's curious, I just got to be forthcoming because I don't know how this is going to go over. Let's see how many dislikes and unsubs I get from this video for people being disappointed before I think if I want to do any more giveaways. Because it's just to thank people, just for getting through the videos and coming on this Maplelea journey with me, because I started out with one thing and then it shifted, and I know it's kind of jarring, and I didn't mean to, what's the word, trick anyone. It's just what happened. It was a natural evolution. And so I'm really grateful to the people who not just enjoy them with me, but also humor me or enjoy seeing them through my eyes sometimes. And what I mentioned earlier about finding more items, Maplelea items in Vancouver, I really do want to share one of the items of this batch that I bought from someone, because she had a few listings and I bought a few things, but she was very far. I was in Vancouver. She was in Nanaimo, which is not a travelable distance, especially by subway. And so she did agree to ship them to me. They're on their way. And I'm so excited that one of the items, and to anyone who saw my last Saila video, you'll know how excited I am that she had this Amouti. So I'm going to have it. I'm going to have it in my collection. I was so disappointed when I found out it was discontinued and they could no longer source it. It was no longer, because it was all handmade up in Nunavut by people who make Amoutis for humans, and they were just making it in doll scale, but they can no longer, I think it's no longer feasible. So it's just, she has a new Amouti coming out. So when it comes out, that one that I have on order with other stuff will be here early next week. So when I get her Amouti middle of next month, I'll be able to compare them and I'll just have them. So I'm excited. And it also reminds me, it's segueing into, I have a huge stack of Maplelea outfits, new releases that I need to open. So I think that's going to be next. And Maplelea has so much stuff coming out, and I've said I want all of it. And to anyone who's been on the website, you might have already seen, they have it listed, but it's showing as sold out because it's not in yet. And then it shows the date that it's coming. So I think the first 4 dolls of the 6 that I want are out at the end of the month. And the next 2 are out the middle of next month. So I'm just saying there's a lot of Maplelea content coming, and it's going to be the same thing where I try to close on both the Maplelea dolls and American Girl dolls. Sorry, American Girl dolls, and I'm now putting them on Maplelea dolls too, just because it turns out people like to see both. Stock photos aren't enough, and I should know better. I think that's all the updates I wanted to include in this video. It's probably long because I've been sitting in front of the camera for a bit now, and I guess it's because I'm well rested after my trip, and I'm all excited to talk about things, and I'm excited to get back to the videos that I was that I have listed and all unboxing all the stuff. Anyway, you know by now how I am with unboxings and stuff. I always have the piles that are sitting over there. It's gonna be fun. So congratulations to Michael S. And like I said, maybe there'll be giveaways in the future, depending on how this does. I just can't help but feel bad, you know what I mean? It's like, even because I've been downsizing, so it's like I bought this doll while I was downsizing and I was selling and I couldn't buy. So I was like, I feel like I always need to buy something. So it was something fun to give away. And so I just hope that people appreciated the chance, and maybe there's a chance of stuff in the future, who knows? And so anyway, this, like I said, long video of catching up. It feels like catching up for me because all the videos that I recorded that have been coming up for the last couple of weeks were filmed so long ago that this feels like my first video in a long time, even though it's not. And I'll have another one very, very soon. So thank you for hanging out with me in this one, and hopefully I'll see you soon in that next video.